Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with life coach Linda Armstrong. Today is Friday, April the 5th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. in New York. It's 1 p.m. in Los Angeles, 9 p.m. in London, Sydney, Australia. Good morning. It's about 8 a.m. there. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm glad that we were able to get this podcast going, even though it was a little bit slow in getting going because stuff gets in the way sometimes, but hey, we're here. We're doing it. That's the main thing. And Linda, you're looking good. I hope you're feeling good. I hope your day's going well, even if things are a little bit crazy.
Doing okay.
Doing okay? Okay, that's good. So we actually have, I've been having a little chat with people in the live stream audience because there was this delay that, before we could get this started. And we actually have our first question. So this is going to be a fun one. Very broad question. There's a lot we can do with it. But Subhan's asking, what is inspired action? And I've actually heard variations on that question a lot lately. People aren't really clear what that phrase means. So, Linda, when you hear the phrase inspired action, what does that mean to you?
To me, it's been given to me by spirit, by divinity. You're in a space of a higher vibration, so it's easier to hear or to receive messages. And you may not even realize it's a message, but you have this urge to do something. And in some cases, you can't even stop yourself from doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's a nice direct answer. I like to think that you think of it obviously in terms of that direct energy connection, and that's probably the cleanest and most direct way to explain and express it. I feel that inspired action is anything that matches what I want to some degree, that matches my vibrational desires to some degree, feels good, and I just get this impetus to just try it, just give it a shot, see what happens. That to me is inspired action.
Yeah, but the key ingredient is INSPIRIT, in spirit.
Oh, in spirit.
Inspired action is in spirit action. So we are spirit, we are energy, we're all connected. We are all literally this very high vibration of love.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're open and we're in that energy, stuff flows. So whether you know you have guides, whether you know you have some sort of connection, it drops in. So then you might say, oh, I had this urge to do something. Where did it come from? It's inspired because it comes from spirit. Wait, you are spirit. Well, anyway, if anyone in my world, you are spirit. You are not that body. You are what occupies it.
That's true. Yeah. It's funny, too, because as we go through life and we're learning stuff like this, like I'm learning this stuff, talking with people like you, we experience it in a certain way. What I was describing is what I experienced. What you were describing is how it ended up happening.
Right. But that's only because you're opening now to that connection, but it's not like your norm. It's not your go-to.
Right.
Right. So for a lot of people, they don't realize, that's why I'm saying it. A lot of people don't realize that it comes from spirit. So I'm just adding that little bit of the element to it. And you know what? That just opens you up to more of the magic and the wonder, which is where the creative mind can go get lost. And that's when you get like the right action to take. Because your higher self knows better than you. And then it can drop in and give it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just think it's very fascinating because I'm usually the one who's interested in the scientific explanations, and you're the one who's pushing the more scientific explanation. I'm just going with what feels to me. I just think it's an interesting thing around.
But it's not even to me. That's not science.
Well, okay, yeah, but reasoned out. Let's put it that way.
Right. Maybe I should say because I've felt that, and I'm sure you felt it. So if you've ever had like every healing modality I've ever taken, it's like I had to do it. Even if I couldn't afford it, I had to find a way to make it happen because something was pushing me. Like I just couldn't not do it. It's almost like the option to not do it wasn't there because I was being inspired or driven by something to do it. And even like when I first took my Law of Attraction Coaching Academy course, I wasn't aware of this connection, but it was pushing me then. Like when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, this whole journey has been sent to me through spirit. It's been inspired in that manner. And it's like I finally, after a while, caught up to what was happening. It's like, oh, this is cool. Okay. I get it. I want to do more of this, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So describe that again. The way you said that was interesting. The way you described that.
I couldn't not do it.
You could not do it. That was it. Yeah. That was the phrase. You could not do it. Like it was almost like you were compelled. I mean, you weren't,
compelled.
well, your will wasn't actually being overcome. You were still making the decision, but you felt like
the thing is, I was compelled though by an energy that was like, it's not a bad feeling. Oh my God, I got to do this. No, it was like, oh my God, I got to do this. Somehow, some way, I'm doing this.
Like excited kind of. I got to do this.
It's like
being out of my head.
It's like you're so drawn to it, and you could think about it. If you think back, you'll probably find a lot of times in your life where you're like, you just had to do it and you couldn't even explain why. Or maybe people say to you, well, how come you're doing that? You know, you're like, why are you doing that? Why are you killing yourself to do that? Or why this or why that? And you're like, I can't not do it. Because I want to, you know, like some people are like, why would you want to do that? Like, because I want to. That's all that we need to know, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't have to match your world. It's my world, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's how we all end up doing different things in life. I mean, otherwise we'd all be living the same life.
Right.
Right? I mean, everybody would be doing the exact same thing, but we all have our own, they call it our own paths. We have our own things that we like to do.
You know, I want to add something to this because I'm hearing it right now.
Yeah.
And it's something I've been working on a lot. The only thing that keeps you from following the inspired action is the ego mind, that fear-based ego mind that starts throwing in all the problems that could happen if you decide to follow this desire. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the voice that you have to listen to and say, no, what feels better? This inspired action, this inspiration, this idea that I really want to do, or this voice telling me, watch out, you're going to get burned, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. So you have to learn how to say, sorry, I'm sticking with this energy because this energy will fuel me. That's why we say it's an abundant universe. It is. We are abundant, creative beings who, if we allow ourselves to just go there and not get pulled off track by this subconscious reactive mind, then everything would be easy. We wouldn't have all these struggles that we have. And I can say that because I've gone through a lot of struggles where I'm finally like, you know, I'm just not listening to that voice. Let's cancel that one out. Cancel, you know. Process, gone.
Well, it takes some practice too. I mean, I know from the beginning, probably the hardest part at first, and now I think I'm past that, but the hardest part for me was just distinguishing. Okay, I'm getting a thought. Is it from what you're calling my ego mind, my subconscious, or is it coming from spirit? And at first it was hard for me to distinguish.
Yeah, but you know how you tell? What feels right. If it feels bad, it's not the thought. If it feels good, but you could have, I mean, there is a purpose for ego, right? You could sense, oh, I better not walk down that alleyway.
And I've had that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because spirit is saying, no, there's something not good there. Turn. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to confuse that kind of so-called warning sign or that sort of inspiration to move away from something. You don't want to confuse that with reactive fear-based programs.
And that can be also tricky to differentiate between. I think one has more of an imminent aspect to it. You can just the little bit of a fear, whatever it is, feels like it's not that it's coming down the week. It's coming in like in the next 5 minutes or something like that.
If it could be real danger, we don't want to say, oh, that's just my reactive mind.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best differentiator I know so far.
Okay, so you know what? Well, God, they're talking to me fast today. You just got to feel it. You got to just feel it. Okay, does this feel like something that is really right for me to pay attention to, or does this feel like something that's just like going to pull me off track? Is this self-sabotage to not, because I don't think I'm worthy of actually achieving that thing? You know, there's a lot of different programs that can come in, but you also have to drop into your heart, because if you feel If it can come from that energy of love, it's coming from spirit, even if it's fearful. But that doesn't happen that much. I mean, we live in, it doesn't really happen that much. If you go to an area where people get murdered, then you automatically like, okay, I better put my fear radar on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like
without getting so fearful that you cause a problem for yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. When unfortunately, you're right. I mean, where you and I live, there is not usually that kind of a real imminent danger going on. Whereas certain places around the world, there are places like that where people live like that constantly, and there's a definite feel that's different about that. So that one's pretty easy to learn. The other thing that kind of happens over time, I think, is we learn. We learn in pieces. It's like we're piecing this stuff together. That's what I'm finding. I'm finding that I get a little piece here and a little piece there, and it's almost like I'm filling in a mosaic or a jigsaw puzzle or something like that. And as I'm filling it in, all of a sudden I'm starting to see the image of the jigsaw puzzle, right? The picture is starting to make some sense to me over time.
Yeah.
It's funny how that happens, but it seems very random at times. It seems very confusing at times, but if you keep going, it just gets clearer and clearer.
I'm actually learning a lot just from this conversation. Because it's just pointing out that as you open up more to receiving the inspiration, you'll realize how those pieces just come together sometimes without even doing anything. It just shows up.
Yeah. It's amazing how that happens, and it's not always that the piece is going to show up in a surprising way. Sometimes pieces show up just what I might call normally. It's a combination, and you almost have to be ready for anything that comes along.
What's normal?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know what the answer is to that one. That's a great question. But
hey, we got the new normal.
We certainly have a sense of it, don't we? We think that we know what normal is. We believed we did.
So the new norm is following inspiration coming from spirit. That's the new norm.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah. That's really where we're going to. Good start to the conversation, Saran. Thanks for bringing a question in. And anybody else who has questions who's listening to the live stream, don't hesitate. Put them in there. We'll be glad to talk about them. I wanted to tell you about something that I ran into, and I was starting to explain it to the group here while we were waiting for you before we started the podcast. I'm going to tell a different story from what I told before the podcast. I'm going to tell a different one. On Tuesday afternoon, Bill G has been sitting in with Alex King and I for the last few weeks, and he's been doing what he calls SRT, Spirit Response Therapy. And it's basically where he uses a pendulum and charts and so forth to kind of help zero in on problems that people are dealing with. So just for fun, I decided to get myself a pendulum and just, learn a little bit about it. I wasn't trying to do a whole course in it. I just wanted to get a sense of it. So I got this pendulum in the mail. And they had a little instruction book, and the instruction book said, well, do these certain tests to try things out. And one of the things that it said to do was, okay, try holding it over gold or over silver or metals or, various kinds of objects. And if you do, it will produce certain kind of patterns. I said, okay. So I tried it. And I tried holding it over wood first because I had a wood table. I figured, okay, let's start with that. And it showed me that it should do this pattern. I'm looking at the pendulum and it's doing that pattern. I'm saying, okay, well, that's pretty cool. I wonder if it'll work with anything else. And so next I had like some metal scissors, and over metal it should do this. And it was doing this. I was like, this is cool. This is great. What's going on here? And I haven't gone a whole long way with this, but I was just fascinating. Every time it told me it was going to do a certain kind of pattern, it did.
So, to always check for your yes and your no, right?
I hadn't even got that far yet. I was just playing with the thing. I was just starting to play with it, and then I had to do something else, so I didn't get very far at all.
I carry a pendulum with me all the time, even if I don't use it. It's crystal, and it's so in tune with my energy that, I trust it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I might be in a shop or a crystal shop, and there's these 3 crystals that I might want to choose from. I'm like, all right, I'm only taking one because I can only afford one right now. So which one would be the best for me to take with me right now? And I'll even just ask the pendulum, and I'll have it show me I'll tell it, give me my yes sign over the one I need to take home. And it'll do that over one of them. Yeah.
Cool. But to me, like I said, I hadn't even gotten to the yes no part. All I did was I was comparing a little booklet that had a little chart. Okay, try doing it over this, and it'll do that pattern, and it would do it. It would do a circle, or it would do a back and forth, saying exactly what the chart said it was supposed to do. And I'm thinking that's pretty crazy. I mean, that is a really interesting way from my perspective. Yeah. I'm going to play with it some more. That's a really interesting way to get validation instantly that this stuff is really going on.
I've done a couple of videos on it long ago, like early in my YouTube channel, because I let go of YouTube for like 5 years, and now I'm back on again. And I was demonstrating, showing my hands up. So it's hard to keep. Really, you should have your arm locked in a little bit so you can keep it steady.
Right, that's what this is saying.
But the thing is, and some people would comment, but you're moving your hand. Now, I mean, I am not doing anything to make the pendulum move. But if the pendulum decides to move a certain way, maybe it's moving my hand a little bit, right? Anyway, those were just a few skeptic voices. But you got to do it for yourself, and you'll find it. Like, you're just holding it there, and and I'll tell it. And funny, because I made another video about it, because all of a sudden my answers were all wrong, because I didn't know to retest myself. I found my yes and my no once, and I went with it. So now I'm getting these weird answers. I'm like, this isn't right. I'm like, okay, sky's blue today. Sky's blue today. And it's giving me the wrong answer. I'm like, oh, I better check my yes and no again, right? Check my yes and no. They totally changed. I used to get a circle.
Common?
I used to go in a circle for yes. I would get a circle, right? And for no, I think I was get up and down the length of my hand. And then you can always do a maybe, but I don't use the maybe. It's a yes or a no. And you got to ask your questions so that it can only be answered with a yes or a no. Mm-hmm. If you ask your question the wrong way, you know what happens to my pendulum? It just goes. It's like it freaks out. It's like I don't understand. So I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me ask her this a different way. And then I ask it in a clear, easy way for a yes or a no, and then I'll get my yes or a no. So at that time, now, and it's been that way for a while. My yes is straight across my palm. And my no is the other direction.
And it sounds like from what you're saying that can change, but it doesn't necessarily change. But it doesn't necessarily change on a regular basis. It's just at some point it'll change.
What does it hurt to check your yes and your no?
Right.
You just like when I muscle test with people, I always have to test for a yes or a no. Mm-hmm. No matter how many times I work with them, we want to make sure that they're getting their yes and their no, so we can be
calibrating. That's essentially the scientific equivalent of calibration. Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, even with the Weaver, I ask it a yes and a no, because sometimes I don't know if the session is done, if it's done doing its stuff. So then when it goes totally still again, I'll ask, is this healing session over? And I'll get like a yes or a no. And I know my yes or no with the Weaver. Or I'll get the shake. I'm like, okay, it's not over yet. And then it'll move into another direction,
Well, you mentioned a moment ago, you ask yourself, or maybe somebody asked you, well, isn't it that you're just moving your hand around? You're deliberately making it go. Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking about that same thing, and I don't remember what it was. The book was telling me to do such a thing, and it would produce a big circle. So I held the pendulum, and it was producing this big circle. I said, well, I must be trying to create that. So I'm going to try to hold my hand real strong there. And when I did, the circle got bigger. And I said, wait a minute, that shouldn't happen.
That's your higher self playing with you. Okay, you don't believe it? Watch this.
And what was really wild, I mean, I also know, I mean, it's like with anything else. If you hold something long enough, I mean, just pure inertia will eventually slow something down. So I was holding there to see how long I could hold it, to see how long the circle would keep going. It just kept going and going and going. I was saying, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. I think what was I going to say? The only tricky part. Oh, yeah. So now some people teach it that you don't look at it. When you ask your questions, don't look at it and then turn and see what it's doing.
Oh, okay.
But I find I can look at mine and I can still trust the answers that it's giving me.
I get the feeling there's quite a bit of superstition attached to pendulums. And I say that because the book that I was reading was talking about, you have to only pick this kind of pendulum for you based on your astrological sign and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, whoa, all these limits in place. What's going on with us?
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion that was the person writing the book.
Right.
That was their stuff.
Yeah, you got to find your own way with it. But you know
Yeah.
what's fun? It's like when someone kind of doubts it, I'm like, didn't you ever have an aunt, or depending on their age, and the person's pregnant, they're like, oh, let's put the pin on the end of the string and let's see if it gives us a circle as a girl and a straight line as a boy. I mean, have you
I
ever
never
heard
saw
of that?
that.
Oh
No, I
my
never
God.
heard of that.
Maybe it's in the Italian families. I don't know, but,
I don't know.
so a lot of times I'll say, did anybody ever do that to figure out the sex of a child? Like, oh yeah, they would get a ring and they put it on a chain and they let it dangle and they do this or that, you know? So then they're like, oh, that's what that is? It's the same thing. It's just superstition or whatever it was, folklore brought it in that way,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But you gotta do what resonates with you. If you feel it's totally fake, then it's not gonna work. It's gonna be totally fake.
I guess it would have to, wouldn't it?
I mean, I don't know.
Because
I don't know. Maybe it would work anyway, but I think that, you know, the outer creates the inner. So people will always find what they're searching for.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to create something that vibrates to the same thing of, well, this is fake. So it's got to give you something that is similar vibration.
Prove it to me.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's what I'll say. When somebody really argues for their limits, you know, it's like, you really want proof of that?
Mm-hmm.
You really need to be proved right on that one? Think about it. Think about what you're putting out there. Because some people don't want to be wrong, even when the thing that is wrong is not for their highest good. But it's more important because the program running is I am right. I have to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was seeing something that somebody had posted about, they were trying to attract money, I think it was. And they were trying to attract a particular amount of money. And they were complaining that they had attracted amount of money that was close to that, but it wasn't the exact amount.
Oh,
and my reaction was like, you just manifested this whole sum of money and you're concerned that it's not the exact amount? Really?
And you know what? That's like, you're not grateful for what you got, then you know what?
Yeah, really.
We're not going to give it to you next time. Be careful what you wish for. Again, it's arguing your limitations, right?
Exactly. And you get to keep them.
I got to prove this is wrong because otherwise I would have got exactly what I asked for.
Yeah. There must be a purpose though for that. Something that soul, that spirit was trying to accomplish. Some lesson they were trying to learn. There must be something to that because everything we do is right. You know, there's a purpose behind everything that we do, even if it's not one that we know what it is. There must have been something to it, but who knows what? I have no idea what.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's also purpose to sorting out how you can prevent yourself from, how you can make your journey be easier to where you're going by getting rid of the stuff that's in your way, right? Maybe part of the lesson is clearing out, of course it is, clearing out those obstacles and those things and how are you going to handle this? Are you going to handle it from the soul side? Or are you going to handle it from the ego side? Right? Are you just going to sit in it and never do anything with it? Or are you going to go backwards? I mean, there's always choice, right? We have free will.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
That's all right. I didn't know where I was going to go, where we were going to go with this entire conversation. So I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Yeah. No, okay, because you're talking about how everything's always right because it's somehow on your path. But if everything was always, if we just accepted everything was exactly right, we probably would be kind of bored. There'd be nothing to do.
No, I don't know that that's true. Not necessarily, because I think we do search out and seek out contrast. We seek out contrasting situations.
Yeah, but you're seeking out the thing that you want, and it pulls up contrast. Otherwise, you would just get everything you want all the time, and you'd be like, well, okay. Oh, that was fun.
Do we though?
Maybe you get bored after a while.
I look at how many people and how this is like the most common thing I see in the universe, in the world of, you know, the news and entertainment and everything that I see out there and people I have conversations with over and over and over again. Everybody keeps talking about what they don't want. They're against this. They hate this. They don't like that. They wish that didn't happen. They wish. I mean, that's the dominant form of conversation that I see out there.
They need to change that story.
Well, yeah, I know they do. But my point is, clearly, these are all people who are who are seeking out the contrast. They're seeking the negative side of it. Why? I don't know, but they're certainly doing it.
You know what? Because their vibration hasn't risen. I mean, that's the whole thing with the awakening, right? So more and more people are wakening up to that they have the power to create what they want in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to argue for your limitations, you're just going to be stuck in never knowing that you actually have the power to change it, right? And so if you want to pay attention to this whole awakening and ascension thing with the new earth and all of that, I don't want to blow your mind here today, but, some of us who are raising our vibration, we're going to be moving into like 4D and 5D dimension where everything does manifest easy, where we're more in our spirit self, right? And other people who just haven't been able to get there are still going to be living in this place where everything's hard. It's almost like there's going to be two places. So I haven't directly channeled anything for myself on that, so I can't say what's right and what isn't. But you can just start searching YouTube for what is the ascension? What is the new earth? What does it mean we're moving into 5D? That whole thing.
Well, that was going to be my question to you. What does it mean to move into 4 or 5D? What are we saying there?
Well, this is the third dimension, right? So in the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension, we're operating from more of the truth of our being, which is that we are spirit and that we create everything, but we don't have to create through struggle anymore. We create through peace, love, and joy. So we're raising our vibration, which is raising it to hold that space of peace, love, and joy more than that place of fear, doubt, and worry. Mm-hmm. So as more and more people move into that energy, well, the planet's moving into that energy. Mm-hmm. So, I really can't speak to the thing about possibly some people aren't going to go with it. It's like, how did civilizations that may have existed disappear, Atlantis or different things like that, because they shifted their vibration into this higher vibration, then they no longer existed. Now, actually, a part of this where you could kind of see it maybe in your own life is, and maybe you know this for yourself, Walt, as your vibration is rising and you're stepping more into your own power, and law of attraction is certainly a road to get there, some people just fall away from your life. They're no longer a vibrational match to you, so they no longer show up in your life.
Yes. That's a lifelong experience for me, actually.
Okay, so that on hyperspeed is moving into the new earth.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Well, now also, maybe I'm misreading it here, from the way you're describing this, the new earth or the fifth dimension or whatever you want to call it there, moving into that place, that sounds like a place where everything just manifests quickly and easily, which is, a moment ago you were talking about, well, you wouldn't really want to do that because life would get boring. So I have to ask you, would life get boring in that fifth dimension?
Well, see, but that's life that I don't know yet, right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it would. I think I would actually get interesting at that point.
Yeah, so that'd be pretty cool to see. Oh, actually, you know what? Something in a meditation this morning, maybe this is why I had this today. I found myself in this space. Like, it was actually a guided meditation. They were kind of guiding you into this park, and there's all these people around and all that, right? But, okay. And you're sitting on a park bench, but all the people disappeared, and I was just in this field that went on forever and ever, and I couldn't see where anything ended, right? Mm-hmm. And this eagle comes in and sits right down in front of me, and it's just looking at me. Just peacefully looking at me, right? And eagle's a big symbol for me. So then it's like whatever looked like the earth kind of disappeared, and I was just kind of floating in space, me and the eagle, right?
Right. Okay.
And then I wish I found what did I do with my notes on that? Here it is. And then it's like, so in that space, I was receiving healing almost like from this eagle. And what happened was that first I expanded, right? So everything slipped away, but all it was this green that went on forever, just this beautiful horizon kind of thing. But then that even went away, and I was kind of just floating in space, but I was still connected to everything. So first there was expansion, then I was totally connected, and literally I'm floating there, right? But I was totally supported in this energy. Now maybe that's what it's like to be in 5D, where everything is just like that. I don't know. Or, I don't know. But for some reason that came in, and I know it came in for a reason, so I'm making some notes on what I'm going to do with that. There's some kind of teaching or healing that's coming through that visual. And I don't normally have so much visual stuff when I meditate, but this came in big and strong today. And I could feel this energy between me and the eagle. So I'm like, all right, there's something here. Is this part of my next course I'm creating? I don't know. So I just wrote down all the notes. But right here, right now, when those obstacles come up, I'm like grateful for them because they show me the parts of me I need. Oh, that's why. The parts of you need to release so you can actually be in that higher vibration. So that's what the whole thing's all about. We're just, and there's so much purging going on lately. Like last week you were sick for no reason, right? For one day or whatever, right? Didn't you say that you weren't feeling well before last Friday's? We both had a week of like blah, blah.
Yeah, I think it was along that line. I don't remember being sick lately, but yeah.
Anyway, but there's been a lot of that where people were sick and, I had stomach stuff going on. Everyone in my family did. We're just purging a lot of this energy that needs to be gone so that we can hold the higher vibration more often, right? So I can hold the higher vibration pretty good, but then I can be pulled out of it too because there's energy to be released. So, and supposedly that's just all part of getting ready to be in that higher dimensional place because this heavy stuff doesn't exist there. Yeah, I don't know what else exists there.
It makes sense to me. If I could use like a computer analogy to explain the same thing. If you have a computer and you don't want to overload the computer with input, then you also have the computer put output. So that doesn't, fill up the memory and just crash the computer. Yeah. You have to have a constant flow going on that the computer is processing all that time.
Right.
Otherwise, you just jam everything up and it crashes.
Yeah. So here we go again. So aren't we just that computer? And this is our matrix?
Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing.
Cool. Yeah. And I also thought, while you were describing what you were describing there, I thought, okay, I'm imagining for a second what it's like to be non-physical looking at the physical. Because what Abraham tells us, they've made it pretty clear, this is where it's all happening. Everybody in non-physical, almost all the time, or perhaps all the time, all their attention is focused here, because this is where all the cool stuff is going on.
Right. And so when you listen to the people talking about the ascension, we chose to come to this planet at this time for this big shift that's going to be going on. And those light workers, like me, like you, you're doing a podcast to bring light to people, to bring, to open people up to more of their power, right? Because there's a lot of people that need to wake up in order to make this shift. We're trying to move everybody into this higher vibration. So you can see how we're playing it out, and we didn't know you forget why you came here, right? I mean, we just go amnesia when we're coming to a body. And then as we're growing older, we're like, I have to do this, right? Do you have to do a podcast every day? Quit tomorrow. Walt, quit tomorrow.
No, thank you. I don't want to do that.
Why not?
I want to keep going because I'm loving it so much. It's so much fun. It's
because
so good.
There we go. You are inspired. You cannot not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And
That's
why?
cool.
because you're lighting people up. It's like we're turning on the lights for people so that they can step into this more of a space where, just like Abraham teaches us, and that's what really, they help to wake up a lot of people to this power you have within, right?
And I'm lighting myself up too. And that's the way I see it. We're all doing it together. We're all kind of lighting ourselves up, and we're helping to light each other up too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's all one great big organism thing going on.
Yeah. It's like when I give healing sessions, I'm like high off the energy. I love it. I help.
By the way, I got to thank you
because I help myself.
Remember last summer when you first started doing the podcast with me, and we did the first 2 episodes, you were like guiding me through stuff, and you did a sesh with me, and you were sending the energy and all that kind of thing. From that point through now, every week has basically been energy work. You've been working with me, you've been working with our audience, and I'm finding that I'm learning it. Like, I think it was the last time we did a meditation, I talked about how I was feeling the energy. I was feeling the aura going out. I am now feeling it almost every time I do a podcast.
All right.
Growing and growing and growing. It's really getting exciting.
So
I'm liking
that tells me how it's like you're just turning your light on, like full steam ahead, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you've opened up to allow that team behind you that makes you not be able to stop doing it. Spirit,
yes, right.
That's driving you can now feed you the energy. You're open to have the energy. So it's great. So remind yourself that you're feeling this expansion, and that's the energy you're putting out. So no matter, and energy is energy, no matter who's listening, whatever day, whatever time, whatever recording, whether it's live or not, they may not even be conscious of it. You're sending that energy to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how you're healing the planet and getting everybody ready. So the more of us that do that, the better. I'm actually working with a lot of people who would like to get into being healers, but they don't know how they're going to do it. But it's like, that's what a lot of people are coming to me for these days. They want to expand into that space because this is the time where we need more and more people to be doing that.
And how fun that we're doing this by having fun. We're doing this by pleasing ourselves. We're pleasing ourselves while we're helping everybody else. We're helping everybody else while we're pleasing. I mean, it's
and it doesn't mean we don't have our own crap going on in our lives, because that happens too, you know. Sure. It's all part of the soup. I don't know.
Yeah, the craft's been happening for a long time. That part I don't have any trouble with. I know that one. It's the rest of it that I'm learning.
Yeah, but the more you step into this space, the more that doesn't happen. You know, in fact, I still have some things that are totally, like, not totally resolved yet. They're kind of lingering. And now, because I made this shift between being in the ego space and the soul space, and it's like I look at it, I'm like, all right, whatever. I think it doesn't take me out of my space. I just kind of look at it like, yeah, okay, that's showing up. We'll see when it goes away.
I've been doing a lot of that myself, actually, and I've been doing it. I always go after the stuff that is the hardest for me. I don't know why I do that, but I do, and that stuff is getting easier. The stuff that's hardest for me is getting easier. It's getting to the point where I know a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, I would have reacted, violently against this thing. And now it's like, so what? Big deal.
Yeah. I think you're like really getting more connected to that support team you have with you.
Yeah. That's got to be it.
And,
because it feels tangibly different. Yeah. I mean, it has a tangible, textural feel that's quite different. I don't know how to even describe what that feeling is. Oh my God, it's snowing out. Here we are in April and it's snowing. I mean, not a lot, little snowflakes, but oh my goodness. I just had to notice that. There's this tangible feeling that, and it's hard to just say what it is. I remember asking you, what does the energy feel like? That was one of the questions I asked you last summer, and you couldn't tell me any more than I can say it right now, but it's kind of one of those things you have to feel it. And once you feel it, like, oh, okay, I know what that feeling is. It's kind of like on the edge of my fingertips, sort of. I can't describe it, but I know it now.
And the cool thing is, when you're not in that energy.
Oh yeah, that's
but knowing that energy exists because you can be in it, you can bring yourself back into that a whole lot easier.
I guess that's the trick, isn't it? Over time, we're learning that more and more and more. We're getting better and better at it. Just because trying it.
I think what makes a difference for me is I just drop it in my heart. I'm like, what does this feel? I'm just going. I look at it two sides. I've got the ego and I've got the soul. I'm just lining up with my soul space because that's peace, love, and joy. And this is anything but. So if I get pulled into the anything but, I'm like, nah, I don't need to live there anymore. So take care of yourself. I'm going over here. So the more I stay in alignment with this, the more I allow that energy, that team that's all around you, to take care of that other stuff. The universe has got your back. Yeah, if you allow it. If you allow it.
I wonder, like I mentioned, I just started to experiment a little bit with a pendulum, and I was getting some, knock my socks off results. I wonder if I would have gotten those same results a year ago. I wonder if I'm getting those results in part because I'm now more open than I was before. Because of, the podcast and work I've done with you and the other co-hosts and just learning to do stuff. I wonder if I'm getting better results than I would have gotten a year ago.
Well, probably a good indicator is that you didn't do it then.
Well, that's true. Yes, that's a very good point. I wouldn't have even thought of doing it. It's like, no, that's too crazy. Can't do that.
Yeah.
That's
but,
true.
It's funny. You can play with this pendulum because you can ask it questions that you know what the answers are. I mean, it's like when I muscle test people, and sometimes they think,
right.
Oh, no, I am confident, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm confident. No. Let me do it again. I am confident. I am confident. They can't hold it. It's like, okay, can we work on that now?
Right.
But so you'll be surprised sometimes. You can ask it obvious things like I did that time. The sky is blue. I live in New York. Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can start asking it more things that directly related to yourself, maybe, and see what those answers are.
Well, I am going to start, like you said, understanding what the yes and no is, learning what the pattern is, so that I can test things out. Because I have, for quite some time, I've been wanting to have that kind of, I like to call it an ability to converse with the other side. Mm-hmm. Well, this is kind of a rudimentary version of conversing with the other side. And if I can get a consistent result out of it, I like that. That.
I think I could probably say that was probably the first way that I felt like I was getting response.
Yeah, sure.
It's a tool to really help you feel that connection.
Right.
Yeah.
So that makes it worthwhile. So yeah, I'm going to start playing with it some more, get some more books on it and all that kind of thing, and just do some learning.
No, it'd be fun for you. Before you ask the pendulum the question, just ask it and see what drops in.
What do you mean?
Like if you were going to ask a question to your pendulum, whatever that might be, before you use the pendulum, just ask spirit. Okay.
Oh, just to put this pendulum down, ask the question and see what
you receive.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Start, this way you can kind of get confirmation for yourself that you can actually get answers without even the use of the pendulum.
Well, that's another form of calibration, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Because at that point, I am at least receiving some signal, some kind of energy or message or whatever it is. And now I'm trying to be consistent in how I understand what that message is, what that signal is. If I can get the consistency going, then I've got a better conversation going.
I know
it's like learning a language, really.
Yeah. And trusting it, because I remember when I first started, just kind of channeling and asking questions, and I would get an answer, but I would be like, yeah, but I could have said that. My mind could have said that, and not like spirit. But what would happen is that same thing I heard would show up the next day. Somebody else would say it to me or in front of me. Or like usually it was in my meditation groups. They would actually say the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay. That was real. That was spirit. That wasn't my mind. So, like ways you'll find, you just put the intention out there. Okay, spirit, let me know that I'm actually receiving information from you so I can start to figure out how it comes to me. And they'll help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main thing is just getting to the point where you can get some signal. That to me is the hardest part, and I've gotten through a good portion of that now. Yeah. There was a time when I thought I couldn't do it at all.
Yeah, I just want to say to everybody, it's happening all the time. It's just a matter of if you're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
It's happening for you because, number one, you can't not do your podcast. And that's not just this week. That's been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. Right. It also points to just how valuable it is to follow what you love. Mm-hmm. Because that's how I ended up doing the podcast. I ended up doing it just because I didn't have any idea where it would go or, how I'd be able to keep doing it or, how any of the endless numbers of questions would get answered about, can you do a podcast? Can you resolve all the technical issues? Can you do this, that, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff? All I knew was I wanted to do it. And I followed that. Even though I had no idea whether or not following it was a good idea.
See? Yes. Thank you for the proof. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like when I did my law of attraction course. And then another one came up halfway through, and it was another year-long course. I'm like, I don't know how I'm ever going to afford this, but I knew I had to do it. Somehow I found a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a nice it's a nice shift of mindset, because I was in a mindset for a long, long time of, I guess, what we call being stuck. But it was more, I would find different ways to be stuck. It'd be either money stuck, or distrust of process stuck, or distrust that any of the stuff actually exists stuck. I mean, different kinds of stucks that would happen. And one by one, they've been peeling themselves away as I've been going through this little journey. It's fun.
Yeah. Does your pendulum does it have a crystal hanging from it or something else?
Yeah. It's where to put it. I'll show it to you. That's my little crystal.
Okay, good. So I want you to play with feeling the energy of the crystal. Not now.
Okay.
Just keep playing with it, right?
Okay.
I mean, because crystals have energy. So, I mean, one way is you can just hold your hand over it and move it. Or like, say you had a bigger crystal.
Mm-hmm.
You just, you can start high, right? And then you start bringing your hand down and you see where you start to feel the energy. And then you can just move it slowly, like we did when we brought the energy in our hands. We've done that before, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you can feel that little buzz, or you feel like a cushion of air, like it's repelling, like a magnet repelling.
Like a magnetic thing. So, yeah, I felt that.
I mean, feeling the energy from the crystals, that makes you like, well, what the heck is that? Okay, we can sense energy, right? Yeah. So anyway, with the pendulum, you can, one way, especially when there's a point and that has a point, like I would like to just put it, I would feel like with my eyes closed, I could really feel my teeth buzz when it goes in front of it, right?
Wow.
Or you just move it on your hand, see if you could feel it on your fingers. I don't know, where am I? You know? And play with it. Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised. You say to other people, can you feel this? And they're like, well, what was that? Yeah, so get in tune with your crystal, with your energy, like feel it, let it know. Yeah.
Okay.
Carry it in your pocket. Let it really get attuned to you.
Because I do like it when, like earlier, I was playing with it and it was starting to do things that surprised me. Because that's what gets your attention. You say, wait a minute, there is something to this. What is this? What's going on here? No?
Yeah. It just cracks you open a little bit wider.
Especially when I was I was thinking exactly what you talked about. Okay, I must be doing this. I must be actually turning it into a circle. So I'm going to force my hand to stay. It's going to stay in that really rigid position. And then the circle got bigger. And I said, oh, wait a minute. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So, I didn't expect that. I mean, literally, I can't even tell you why I bought the crystal, to be perfectly honest. That pendulum, I bought it because Bill had been showing it to us. That was the entirety of my reason. And I have lots of people who show lots of things to me. Why did I pick that one? I have no idea.
Because part of you said, get one of these. And you listened.
I guess.
And you listened.
Yeah. And I acted on it.
So by him doing that on your show, it woke up something within you that you maybe haven't caught up to yet, that you've woken up to. But you actually were moved, because spirit will move you, right? That's why I'm always talking about staying in line with that energy, and that's the inspired energy, because it'll move you to do something. So you were totally inspired. It was an inspired action to buy that.
Yeah. Funny thing was, at the time that I bought it, I didn't know it was an inspired action. I think that's what I'm pointing at. I know now after the fact that it was an inspired action. At the time, I just couldn't explain why I was doing it.
But that's even better, because you needed to see that. That was the lesson. Okay, that was the first question for today, and you already proved it before the question came up today.
Right, yeah.
And you didn't even realize you proved it until just now. So that makes it even more fun.
This is true. Yeah, I didn't realize it at all. Yeah. That was so weird, though. And I'm looking forward to playing with it some more, just to see what more weird stuff happens. It was kind of like that day where we were doing the energy work, and you reached out to me, and I felt the energy. I said, wow, I didn't expect it to be that tangible. That really surprised me, you know. Now
you were open. That's fun. You were open. It was time. Maybe your guides are like, you've got a team working behind you. It's not just you in front of that camera there.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what do we have here? Sarah's saying, I also buy a crystal I'm drawn to. She says that's very important. Yeah, I buy into that now for sure. Oh, and Ruthie's joined us. Ruthie Cohen Joyner was my guest yesterday when Steve Rowell couldn't come. He got Ruthie to come on the show and talk about tapping, and she gave us a full tapping demonstration.
Oh, fun.
So thank you for tuning in, Ruthie. Nice to see you. In fact, if you feel up to it, feel free to drop in on the platform. You can talk with Linda and I. Anybody's welcome to do that, but we'd especially love to have you do it. So I right now I'm kind of at a blank. I'm not sure where to go with the conversation.
Well, what were we talking about?
We were talking about how fun it is to have to play with stuff and have it actually prove out. Like, whoa, I got a big result there. Those big results, because that's the kind of thing that keeps me going. Is whenever I get a big result that I didn't expect and I could feel it.
Now, it's kind of letting that inner child out to play with the magic and the wonder. I mean, really, maybe that's what it's like in 5D. Everything's just magical, you know?
I suspect it probably is. Yeah. I mean, the reports that we get from various sources about what it's like in the non-physical world suggest that. Because everything that I've ever heard is extremely positive, happy, joyful, festive, exciting.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, it's really terrible on the other side." I've never heard that report.
There's let me see. Did I share that book with you? Let's see. Where is it? Audible. Go to my library. Michael Newton, Destiny of Souls. I think he did Journey of Souls. I didn't read that one or listen to that one. But he did hypnotherapy, and really it's all in between life stuff and people describing what they're doing, how they're learning, what they need to learn, like the whole thing. It's like there's this whole structure because he's done this with, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people, and all of the stories kind of blend and match to this sort of, it's not just like I don't want to say hierarchy, but there's like, there's steps that you go through and different things that you do in the spirit world and what it feels like in that space, right? Mm-hmm. There's another book which is fun called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, which was a true story about this woman whose brother, who was an alcoholic and like a mess up his whole life, winds up running out of the hospital because they wouldn't give him the drugs he needed, and he gets hit by a car, dies. Anyway, he starts coming back to her, and she doesn't really understand what's going on, but he's talking to her from the afterlife, and he's actually giving her messages for the people that she knows, which actually makes it more real for her that this is really happening, because I don't know about this one's brother-in-law who did, whatever. And he talks about what he's going through as he's ascending in spirit into even higher and higher aspects of spirit. Mm-hmm. Right? Because some choose to come back, some evolve into not coming back, some are just teachers for those who are coming back, all this kind of stuff.
Right, lots of stuff going on.
In that meditation today, that's how I felt like that's where I was, when I was just floating out there in space with the eagle. So, that's cool. And it was an awesome place. And, it felt like really amazing.
Sarah's got a question for us to address. So let me bring that in here where I can read it at a larger size. She says, would you recommend that other people can hold or touch your crystals? I have always thought that they can't and that only I should hold them. And also, how often do you cleanse your crystals with a singing bowl or smudge them?
I don't let other people touch my crystals. I'm a little more lenient now. Like I would never let people who clean my house touch my crystals at all. Now I let them dust them around them and stuff. And I'm like, I'll just clear them later. Because what happens is like, or if I would have crystals hanging from my wallet and I'd go to the store and pay and people want to touch them, right? People want to touch crystals. Even I'm wearing a necklace and like, oh, how pretty. And they'd reach for it to touch it. And I'm like, at first I felt funny, but then after a while I was just like, oh, I'm sorry. No, I can't. It's beautiful, isn't it? But I can't let you touch it because the crystal is in tune with my energy field. Mm. And so when other people handle it, it's got to work overtime now because now it's also clearing that energy that just came from this other person, right? Mm. So what I learned was, and I learned from Chinese girls in Chinatown, New York City, is There's great crystal shop in there called Magic Jewelry. They have like 3 or 4 different locations. What I learned from them was that it's okay if your immediate family touches, like people who live in your household, because you're kind of all like in the same energy field anyway. But other people really shouldn't be touching them. And so clearing them and cleansing them, I like to put them out in nature. I will smudge. I will use sound. Yeah, that's how I would do it. I usually do sound or smudging of some sort, or putting them out in nature.
And sound, talk about
or Reiki, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound, yeah, with bell, you know, like, you ever see those, what are they, Tibetan bells on a string? You know, like I like to use those because actually I have a tuning fork that's to a certain frequency that really shifts the crystal vibration back to its own. I forget what that tone is. I don't even know where it is right now. I haven't used it I think it's at my karate school. That you just hit that tone and it goes out and it brings the crystal back to its natural resonance. That's why crystal healers use crystals, or that's why even in Reiki we would put crystals of the right color on, or the right function on the chakras, because, and the way I learned it in this crystal course I did with Hibiscus Moon, great crystal course to take is hers, Hibiscus Moon. Anyway, the crystal has one frequency where we have so many frequencies. And so when we know that the chakras are tuned to a certain frequency, and if it's out of balance, by putting that crystal over that chakra, you're allowing that chakra to come into resonance to the crystals, because the crystal just stays in its one frequency. It's not all scattered and about. So It's, what do they call it? It'll entrain itself to that vibration. So that's why crystal healers will use crystals for whatever function or purpose around the body, and is to bring that vibration within that area of the body back to where I guess it should be or could be. Put it that way. Yeah.
So from what you're saying, it sounds to me like it's not like the crystal's going to get permanently broken or something if somebody else touches it. Rather, it's just it just takes more work to keep it cleaned up again. Like, why do you want to have to go through all that?
You just want to, well, because if you have crystals, they're working for you. Like, you give, I don't have it with me right now. I have one that's just for building my business. I have one that's for my move to Arizona. Like, you can give your crystal a function to do for you, right?
Okay.
So I'll show you this one. This is
that's pretty.
Camera. Yeah. It's a snakeskin agate. Doesn't it look like Arizona? It looks like Arizona.
Definitely has northwest or southwest colors to it. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I didn't give it that function when I first bought it. But again, it was in the crystal shop. I had to hold it. I just went in to say hello to the people that work there, and I wasn't going to buy a thing. But the crystal was calling my name. You cannot leave without buying me. And then later on, when I realized this desire to go to Arizona, I decided, this is the perfect crystal. I'm going to program it. Its function is to assist me in moving to Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I don't want people messing with this. It's programmed with my desire and my energy. Mm-hmm. So if my cleaning lady's going to be moving it around, now it's got her energy in it. No, I got to keep it my desire. We don't want to work on her desires, or that it's working for me. So that's the way I look at it.
What you're describing is very individualistic handling of energy, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're tools, right?
Because we're all connected to the same energy, but we're all using it differently. And I think that's what you're really describing, the fact that we're all using it differently.
Yeah, I suppose so, because we all have our own desires and things that we want to create, which exists on a certain frequency and vibration.
Right.
So the crystals, I look at them like they're here for us to utilize. Mm-hmm. They're gifts for us to work with. Mm-hmm. Was there another part of her question I was going to maybe say something to, but now I don't remember.
Well, let me see. I can bring the question back up and just do a double check. She said, would you recommend that other people hold your crystals? I've always thought they can't, and that I should hold them. Also, how often do you cleanse your crystals with a singing bowl or smudge them?
Okay, so how often? Whenever I feel like they need it. I used to be religious about cleaning crystals just because I thought I had to. But now I just kind of feel it. And being too that I do energy work, I'll just give them energy. Or I can be in meditation and just be sending that energy out to all my crystals. So you can also find your own way to clear them, you know. But definitely out in nature, it brings them back to or the sound, yeah, it just zaps them back into that's where we were talking, when I was talking about the tuning fork that is, to the frequency that is of the crystals that can clear the crystals. Yeah, it just snaps it right back to where it needs to be.
Just by hitting the tuning fork once.
Just with the sound, yeah. I like to do things in threes. Even when I use the bells, I do it 3 times. That's just my way. So that's it. You find your own way and feel it. And I'll tell you, I've had crystals where they look. I told you about that, right? Crystals, they'll change and they'll heal themselves.
You mentioned that, but you didn't go into detail about that. So talk about that.
Okay, let me see. I got these guys hanging over here. Okay. So I was also told how, remember I told you can give a crystal a function and then you can talk to it with those desires because you're programming it and you're working with it. So this one, I don't know if we can get good light on it. It has titanium needles in it, right? And you're probably not going to be able to see there's not enough light in here, but you can see through it. You can see through all the needles.
We can kind of see a sense of that. You can kind of see like the gray areas that are more translucent. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's mostly all really translucent. But when I first got it, there was a patch somewhere within it that was a little cloudy. And, okay, that's just how it was, right? So then the Chinese ladies told me that, to work with it, you're going to give it a function that you want it to do for you or that you want to manifest in your life. And then you're going to just talk to it in present time about these desires and all that. That's how we manifest, right? This is before I came to Law of Attraction. This is what these girls were teaching me. Yep. So I was doing that, right? Now, at the time, I was working in an advertising agency, and I had to travel like 40 minutes on Route 80. If you know Route 80 in New Jersey, it's like 5, 6, 7 lanes. And right? Yeah. And nobody does 55 or 60. I mean, you're doing
not in New Jersey. Nothing is slow in New Jersey unless the traffic is all backed up.
I would talk to my crystal while I'm driving on Route 80, doing like 80, 90 miles an hour and talking to my crystal at the same time. So what happened was it changed. It was like really cloudy. I'm like, but I could swear I was able to see through it before and now I can't see through it. So I went back to the crystal shop. I'm like, this is really weird, but I think when I got this, I could see through it and now I can't. And so they remember the crystal. They know the crystal. Yeah, it does look a little bit cloudy in there. I'm like, yeah, what's that all about, So they asked me, how are you using it? Are you talking to it? Are you talking to it in present time? Are you holding it? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all of that. They're like, well, how are you doing it? Like, where are you when you're doing it? I'm like, I'm on Route 80 doing 90 miles an hour. They're like, okay, that's it. You're talking when you're in the middle of all this energy and you're confusing it. And that's why it got cloudy. Now I left it with them and they zap it however they do it. I think they have this huge room full of like humongous crystals and the crystals bring the crystal back to its, they use crystals to clear it. At least I think they do.
Okay.
It's magical. All I know is I got it back and it was back to the way it was.
It's back the way it was. That's
I'm
cool.
like, wow. Okay. Not only that. Okay. And then years later, when I found out I'm going to be doing Law of Attraction coaching. And so I was I'm like programming it for me being a Law of Attraction coach, blah, 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 right? And I looked at it. I couldn't find the cloudy area that used to be there when I first bought it.
Interesting.
Just clear. So I was like, this is letting me know I'm on track. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have this one, a carnelian, right? Ball. Now I dropped this on the tile floor in my kitchen in another house I lived in. And it had like a bruise somewhere. Like I thought a chunk was going to fall out of it. Wow. Cause it fell and it went boom. And I'm like, oh no, my crystal. And I think it was new at the time too. I'm like, and I saw this area. I cannot find it. It healed itself. So they told me the crystal will heal itself. You know, it's alive, even though it's not connected to the soil anymore.
Yeah.
I cannot find where that was. It's gone. It healed itself. So many stories like that. I gave my mother-in-law a bracelet, and they changed color. Oh, I have another pendant in the other room that was more of a greenish color. It's a green phantom. So that can be like a green color. Sometimes it's a little bit of a dusty rose color, as if it's got like, in the clear quartz, as if it could look like a mountain scene because the way the green comes in. It's almost like moss in there or something like that, right? Within the crystal.
Okay.
Mine it was green with a little bit of this pinkish tone turned maroon.
Wow. That's a shift.
Maybe I'll wear it next time. I'll show it to you. It is maroon. So I go to a crystal shop. I'm like, well, what can you tell me about this? I didn't know about chakras and all that kind of thing either. And they're like, it's taken on a different vibration, a different energy for you, more of the root chakra, to keep you grounded and in your power, that kind of thing. I'm like, oh, cool. Now these are my own crystals that physically changed.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody else's story. So I'm telling you my story with my real
I know. I can just, you don't even have to prove that to me. I can see in your face what kind of impact.
To anyone who might be questioning that. So crystals, you know, hey, there's energy. How do we explain that? How do you explain that, right? It has its ability to do that for itself.
We're actually over time, but I got another follow-up question from Sarah. Actually, two of them, I believe. Let me bring the other one because she actually qualified what she asked. So let's get them all in one place where I can take a look and see what she's saying. This is getting interesting enough that we got to go over time, so that's the way it is. First she asked, I'm going to read both of them. She says, first she asked, when you say program them for your desire, how do you mean? So I have my tiger's eye crystal that I'd like it to help me with my career, which I believe it does. How would you program? But then she says, actually skip the last question. You're talking about it now. So I talk to each individual crystal and pass my thoughts through it.
Yeah, it's like your best friend, only it knows exactly what you want. So you just talk to it in present time, like you would with anything you want to manifest. You nevelize it. That's how. You know who says that? It's what's his name? Joe Vitale.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He calls it nevelized. Yeah, you talk to it in present time. Like, you know, my business is thriving. I have such amazing clients. You know, like whatever it is you want to create, you're gonna kind of communicate with it, hold it. Even if you're just meditating and just letting all those images be there, you're just letting the crystal know this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, hopefully that is helpful to Sarah. So that's a nice high note to end on. That's good.
Yeah.
We've been going on. We actually this is like one of the longest ones we've done. We're at an hour and 8 minutes, which is well over.
Okay, because we started late though, but yeah.
Well, I know, but this is actual recording time, so we're doing well. Let's put it that way. It's been good. I want to remind people that starting on, let's see, when is it? Well, then I won't say, nope. Sorry, I'm speaking too soon here. So ignore what I just said. I'm going to leave it at this. Have a great weekend. And
it's a mystery.
It's a mystery, yeah. I started to say something that I can't say yet. So
okay.
Just wipe that out from existence. It's not been said. But Monday morning it's going to be Louis D'Souza, and I think he has a guest for us. We're going to find out, but that's always fun. A good way to start the week. And then feel free to join us throughout the week because we do all 10 episodes, and we love having all of you pay attention and join in. Thank you to our live stream audience for sharing their questions. Thank you, Linda, for doing your stuff. By the way, tell people how they can find Linda Armstrong because. I'm sure there are people who are saying, I want to learn more about stuff like this. I want to reach out to her. How do I reach out?
Okay. Lovemylife.coach and go to my YouTube channel. I talk about all sorts of things there. Yeah. What did I put out today? Oh, how to shift your mood instantly. It talks about, how to know whether it's someone else's energy you took on, which you can just release it, or if it's your own energy, that kind of thing. So anyway, I share lots of stuff on the YouTube channel, so you can go there.
You have an extensive set of videos you've done over quite a period of time there. You have just about every question that has ever been asked answered. That's the way it looked to me anyway.
I do at least 2 a week. I try to do 2 a week, if not definitely one, but yeah.
Very good. So yeah, so go to Linda's YouTube channel and check it out.
And be sure to subscribe.
Yes, thank you. Yes, be sure to subscribe to
and the LOA Today.
And subscribe to LOA Today. Yeah, go to
YouTube.
LOAtoday.net and on YouTube because we also have the YouTube channel for the videos. But subscribe through LOAtoday.net for the podcast so you can get all the podcast episodes coming to your smartphone, and make sure that you're sharing the fact that you're listening to LOA Today and that you're listening to Linda's videos on YouTube and so forth, because that's how we get more and more people having their daily dose of happy. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, podcast listeners. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye.